Hi, my name is Linda. I just wanted to start off this video by mentioning that my discipline areas are business management and economics. So my examples will be specific to how you can incorporate literacy and numeracy skills into these method areas. But of course, we all know that literacy and numeracy are skills that should be built upon by teachers across the whole curriculum. So, scenario one involves a principal asking me to explain the meaning of general capabilities to some of my colleagues. I would personally begin by just redefining the term by what Akara has put forth, which is that they're a set of diverse skills that focus on not only helping students with their academic learning, but also helping them build their confidence and creativity. There are seven capabilities, which are literacy, numeracy, information and communication technology, critical and creative thinking, personal and social capabilities, ethical understanding, and intercultural understanding. All of these aim to help prepare students for living in the 21st century after school by emphasizing the relevance between the content that is being taught and how this is all applied into reality. Following on from this, I would address the cross-curricular nature of the general capabilities as no matter our discipline, all of us as teachers should try and incorporate activities that satisfy all of the capabilities on a regular basis throughout our classrooms. Doing this will help give our students the best chance to improve their performance. Hopefully by sharing some examples in my discipline area, I can give other teachers some ideas of how they can incorporate activities to satisfy some of the capabilities. So my first example will demonstrate how I would typically support the growth and development of literacy skills in an economics classroom, which is for the most part heavily numerically based, where Cobb explains how incorporating such skills in the classroom will help support student engagement and therefore help improve academic performance. So let's look at a Year 8 economics lesson in which students are doing a research project about product trends in the Australian market. The activity might involve students collecting data about different products and then constructing a graph to compare the values. So if I wanted to introduce a literacy component here, I could ask students to write a summary about what products they have chosen to research and why they have chosen these specific products over others. If we wanted to get a little bit more complex, I could also ask the students to write an analysis about the graphs they have constructed and discuss and compare the differences in values instead of just looking at the numbers on the graph. Butcher describes that these kind of efforts in promoting literacy in the classroom are integral to the development of students' analytical and problem-solving skills. So in this next example, we'll look at how multiple general capabilities can be applied within one disciplinary area. So we have a Year 10 business class who they might be doing their market day project in which they have to build their own business and operate it for a day or two. In contrast to the previous example, this one will involve many literacy skills such as learning key glossary terms, writing up a draft business proposition and contract, and actually verbally pitching the business idea to fellow students. In order to introduce a numeracy element into this project, we might get students to interview other students and survey their peers to try and identify trends in the school and see if their business caters for these trends. We might also get them to calculate break-evens and identify how many units they may have to sell in order to make a profit. This sort of task helps address the question of when am I ever going to need to know this outside of school? When am I ever going to use this once I leave school? Which helps students understand the role maths plays in broader society. This is something Akara describes as integral in order for students to actually apply what they have learned once they leave. If we look at some of the other capabilities as well, this project addresses ICT as students may use it to develop their promotional material and do their advertising. It incorporates ethical understanding as students learn about their moral obligation to consumers and to their employees. And it also incorporates some aspects of intercultural understanding as they may learn about differences in trends amongst different cultures and how they may have to accommodate for these. In scenario 2, it's discovered that a student of mine is actually achieving 3 years behind the expected level of literacy for her U level. This means that she's potentially struggling with not only reading and spelling, but also with creating visual, digital, and oral texts, which are all foundational skills she would need to have proficient knowledge in order to do well with her business and economic studies. Knowing I have this struggling student, Jennifer, in my class, my planning for the following term would be affected as I'd have to place a greater emphasis on differentiating in my lesson plans. Of course, I always try and prioritise this and have a variety of different tasks and activities to keep the students engaged. But I'd now also have to create modified versions of all these different tasks as she may find the mainstream work too difficult and challenging to complete. And therefore she wouldn't be motivated to do her work. Kutzalini has actually identified this as necessary in order to provide students like Jennifer with the same opportunity to learn and improve her performance as the rest of the class. I'd also go and revisit the key elements of literacy that Akara describes, which are comprehending text through listening, reading, and viewing, and composing text through speaking, writing, and creating, both of which incorporate visual knowledge as well as knowledge of text, grammar, and word. Doing so will give me guidance as to how I can support the development of Jennifer's literacy skills in the specific areas that she may be struggling. For example, she may be understanding of visual knowledge but struggle with word knowledge, in which case her modified tasks may focus on improving spelling and vocabulary. I try and focus on targeting one particular area of concern with each activity and pairing this with something that she's already comfortable and confident with. If I was to try and improve every aspect of literacy she's struggling with all at once, she may become overwhelmed, and this will negatively affect her motivational levels and have an adverse effect on her learning. It's been found that for students like Jennifer who are struggling, pre-existing knowledge on topics actually acts as a motivator for them to enhance their literacy skills. And so as teachers, we should always strive to build from what students already know. I may also collaborate with Jennifer's other teachers to see what strategies they've used in the past that have been effective for her, or even have a look at what they're planning to do for her in the future, as this may better inform my approach to teaching her. This is something that the Department of Education and Training really support. For my plans, I'd also follow the high impact teaching strategies, which is a resource that the Victorian Department of Education and Training have brought on for teachers, as this will educate me on how to effectively plan, implement, and review my strategies so that Jennifer and students like her in the future can most benefit from my teaching. And finally, scenario 3 involves a parent asking me how I'm catering for numeracy development in my method area. Of course, I'm not a mathematics teacher, so at times I can find it difficult. However, I acknowledge the need to put more emphasis on numeracy as a curriculum-wide commitment, and that's why I always try and pre-plan activities that place specific emphasis on the development of numeracy in my lessons. So I can understand that numeracy is more than just maths. It provides students with knowledge about how to use logical reasoning, problem solving, and decision making in everyday life. In the past, this aspect was often neglected, and therefore disengagement would prevent students from improving their numeric performance. Unfortunately, the current curriculum still leaves many students detached from their lessons, and that's why I incorporate skills that students can relate to in reality, such as data collection, interpretation, and analysis, as well as estimations and money handling. In doing this, I always try and relate it to a topic of interest to counter any adverse feelings towards maths and keep the students motivated. I know it's often found that students don't actually understand the application of numeracy into everyday life and the benefits it would produce for them. And this negatively affects their attitudes towards numeracy skills. That's why I remind my students of different industries that they would need a particular skill for, such as hospitality and construction, um, as well as how they could potentially make or save more money through understanding economic principles such as investments and stocks. I'd also inform the parent that I do regularly collaborate with my colleagues to learn new ways of catering for numeracy development that have been successful in their lessons that I could potentially adopt into mine. Um, this is often done on a discipline area um, basis, despite research showing that it's proven to be more beneficial across the whole curriculum. I'd encourage the parent to support the numeracy development of their child by applying some of the following skills at home to reinforce what they learn in my class. So, doing things such as using patterns and spatial reasoning, interpreting maps and diagrams, and recognizing relationships between data and statistics. All of which are key economic and business numeracy skills that have been outlined by ACARA. So doing that would help develop the long-term numeracy skills of the student on top of what they're learning in my lessons. So that brings us to the end of my video. I hope you walk away with some new ideas about how you can potentially apply the general capabilities in your own classrooms. Thanks for watching.